Okay, so today what we're going to do is we're going to do some work with the ProEcho Rulers. The ProEcho Rulers come in a whole bunch of different sizes, and I've just pulled a couple of them. And you'll notice that they vary in the depth of the curve and the length of the curve. So the number on them, like this is the ProEcho 4, which means that it comes from a 4-inch circle. This one's the 7-inch circle, 10-inch circle, 12-inch circle, just so you know what those numbers mean. So when you're looking to do anything, because everybody always asks, what's the best size to get? And really, I can't answer that because it really depends on what you're doing, how far into the block you want to go with what you're doing, all of that. So I'm going to start with some curved cross hatching, and I love these to do curved cross hatching. They're absolutely fantastic. So we're going to do curved cross hatching in this block here. One of the things that you have to be conscious of when you're doing curved cross hatching is that the arc is appropriate for that block. And what I mean by that is, let's say I want to use this ProEcho 12. This probably isn't going to give me enough depth to make it really seem like a curved cross hatching. So let's say the block was smaller and I was only going to do this small square, then it would just read as a normal cross hatch. Okay, so you really want to make sure that you're looking at that. So if I were going to do a curved cross hatching in that block, I would probably choose this ProEcho 10. Okay, so I'm going to kind of show you how to do the curved cross hatching in this block. So you'll notice what I've done here is I've put a big X in the middle of my block, okay? And that is so I have something to line up this middle line of the ruler, and I always use the middle portion of the ruler for this. So I don't know if you can really see it very well, but there is a middle line here, and I want that to stay on the line as I move forward. Also on the ruler, you'll notice there's some etchings. Each of these etchings are 1/4 inch apart. So I'm going to do a 1/2 inch cross hatching. So what that means is I'm going to line up, okay, with the first etching, which is a 1/4 inch, and then my foot is actually going to be the other 1/4 inch. Okay, so I'm going to start down here. I'm going to line up, pull up my thread, and we're going to see if you can actually see this colored thread. You might have to change to a brighter color. And then you just hold and you follow. Then what I'm going to do is move aside, and I'm going to advance the ruler, staying on that middle line. Move up, and then I kind of move back. So let's see, can you see that? I think when I finish you'll be able to see it a little bit better. So let's see. Out of the way, move up, lining up again. So I'm lining up the middle line and that cross where the dashed line and that middle line is. And I think you might actually be able to see it better when I go down the other way. If you're a little off, that's the beauty of curved cross hatching. Is that if you're a little off, your eye's not going to pick it up as you would with the straight cross hatching. So you'll notice what I did when I came to the corners. I just went up and over, just enough so I can move my ruler, and I'm going to come back. in there. So I have all of this way, right? Now I have to come back and go this way. So let me cut that thread, get rid of that. So you can do one of two things. You can go this way or you can go this way, whichever you prefer. So I'm actually going to do the opposite way, so I'm going to come down the other way. One of the things that you don't want to do is try and do it this way and use this inside curve and come this way, because you have nothing to really hold you to any kind of markings. So let's line us up. And as I move along here, I'm just kind of stitching in my little fake ditch on this panel. Move up, staying on my middle line. And there you have the curved crosshatch. Okay, so if you notice, if I took a smaller one, it would have been much deeper curve. So that's the other thing that you want to make sure that you look at, is that when you're doing your curved crosshatching, will your ruler go from the diagonals? Will it fit? So this probably would. This one, you can see, would not fit all the way across, so I wouldn't be able to use this one. Okay, hope that helps. Okay, so we've done our curved crosshatching. Now let's do some continuous curves. So again, the most asked question is, what size should I get? And it really just depends on what you're doing. So I always recommend getting at least 3, and you can space them apart. So I wouldn't do like a 5, 6, and a 7, but you might want to do a 5, 8, and a 12. That way you're getting different depths of curves so that you can choose. Because inevitably, if you only get one, what's going to happen is you're going to get home and it isn't going to be the right one. So if we're going to do continuous curves in our flying geese here, one of the things that you have to think about, first off, if I were to use this, it doesn't go, let's see if we can get it all in there, it doesn't go from corner to corner, okay? So this small one is out for this long part here. However, I could use it for this part here, okay? But I would be going very deep into my block. So that's something that you want to think of when you're picking out the ruler to do the continuous curves, okay? So this is a 7, so you'll see. Now this is going to go further into the block here, okay, because it's a longer one, a longer side, than it would if I used it over here. So a lot of times when I'm doing flying geese, I might use a different ruler here, and then I do here. What will happen is if I use this here, and I use it here, sometimes you'll get like a little cross in the corner here. So I will end up showing that to you. So what I'm going to do is I am going to use, on this first geese, I'm going to use the 7. So start over here. Just pull up my thread, secure it. Now, one of the things when you're doing this type versus the curved cross hatching is that you have to really watch, because if I actually place my ruler on the corner, and I know it's very hard to see in the video and I apologize for that, then I'm not going to land on the corner. So I have to position myself 1/4 of an inch away from where I want to land. And I tell my students it's similar to driving. If you look to where you want to land, eventually you get very good. You'll make minor adjustments with your ruler as you're stitching so that you actually land there. But when you first start, really just try and place your ruler. You can even use another ruler to measure to make sure that you're 1/4 of an inch away. So you'll see this is going to go fairly deep. It goes right into the middle of that block. Okay. Now when I come to this side, what's going to happen is I'm going to make a little loop, and I think this one's deep enough to do it. Okay, so you can, well, maybe you can't see, so let me finish it up and then I'll show you. Okay, so let's see. So you can kind of see the little loop that it puts in the corner. Okay, not a bad look. You just need to be aware that that sometimes happens when you do that. Now, if I were to use and try and do more of a traditional continuous curves, I can use something that's not quite as deep. So I'm going to grab my 12 over here. We're going to use that. And that way I won't go real far into my block. Flip it. Now when you do this side, it almost looks like when you position your ruler that you're not even going to be sewing in the block, but you will. Down. That's kind of more your traditional continuous curve, which is fun. Of course, you can do continuous curve freehand. I just like the control that the rulers give me. So let's do 2 different rulers. So let's do, let me grab one of my other ones. Hold on for just a second. So I'm grabbing one that really hardly has any curve at all. It's the 20, which means it comes from a 20-inch circle. So I'm really not far into the block at all. Okay. And this one, it's going to look like a straight line. So we're going to go back to the 12 for this side. So I actually go in. And then the other side. And you do sometimes feel like a little bit of a contortionist. I like to pick one hand. I can't hold with this hand and then drive with the other hand. So I do feel like I'm a contortionist. Little dust bunny. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back with my 12, because remember I used a 20 on here, and I'm going to go back with my 12 and I'm going to go further into the block with that. Okay, so you'll see I've got 2 lines there, which looks really kind of cool. And then since I used the 12 on this side, I'm going to see how the 10 gives a little bit more. And I love, love, love this look. So let's snip that so you guys can see it. So you can see I've got nice 2 lines there. And that looks really pretty. So that's the deal with the continuous curves in my flying geese. So you just have to be aware, since they're not equilateral triangles, that you make sure that if you don't want the little loop in the corner, that you pay attention to that, and pay attention to how far inside your block you actually want to go. If you wobble and bobble, I will tell you the best thing to do is add another line and you won't notice your wobble and bobble as much. All right, so let's look at this square. It's an equilateral. All the square or the sides are, obviously the same. And if I want to do some continuous curves, or actually no, let's do a block design in this instead of continuous curves. So if I'm going to do some sort of block design in here, let's start here in the corner, and we'll just kind of do like a little fun flower. So let's see, what ruler? Let's see, this one's not going to give me enough depth. Let's go with, I'm going to go with the 7. And what I'm doing is I'm just starting in my corner. I've marked my center. And I'm going to go down to the middle. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip my ruler, and I've marked the center on the side here. Okay. Now remember, you have to be 1/4 of an inch away from where you want to land. So just keep that in mind as you position your ruler. Let's go to Now, one of the things that you always want to be conscious of when you're coming into the center of any place is that you are aware that there could be some thread buildup depending upon a lot of maybe what thread you're using. So sometimes it's nice to just stop 1 stitch shy of where all of the threads are coming into. So you get better at that with practice. Finish up our flower. Pull up our thread. And there is our flower. So you can create different kinds of block designs, which are really fun. Okay, so I'm going to do some more continuous curves, and I'm doing them in this square here. So I'm just going to pick a couple of rulers. Let's figure out how far into my block I'd like to go. So I'm going to use the 10. So I'm going to use the 10 all the way around first time. Remember, I'm 1/4 inch away from where I want to land over on the other side. Try not to have a death grip on your template. That's always important. We've got that. Now let's play around a little bit. I've got some other markings here. I've got the middle markings. Let's do the 7. And we'll go from the middle of each side. so that's kind of a cool design there. So let's pull up that thread, but I have an idea and I don't know how it's going to look, so let's get a good look at this. Okay, so that's kind of cool, but I'm wondering what it would look like is if I maybe put an extra one in here. I'm not so sure about that, but we'll give it a whirl on a different block. So if I come over, let's do this one. Well, we just rotated, okay. So let's do this block here. And I'm gonna just show you what adding that second line does for you. So I'm still using the 10. I'm gonna go all the way around with the 10. With the 7. So this is that one where we're going to go do 2 lines and one goes deeper into the block, similar to what we did with the flying geese. Okay, now what if we took that, get rid of these threads, what if we took that and we wanted to put something inside of there? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in and mark the centers there and then mark my center of that. And we're going to use the smallest one that I've got here. Make a tiny flower in here. What do you think? That looks kind of cool. So, and you can keep going. I could have done some stuff here in these corners. I could still go back, and if I wanted to divide it up, I could do, you know, kind of continuous curves. I could put a circle in here, things like that to really kind of just have fun with it. So, yeah, more continuous curves. Okay, so what I'd like to do is just to quickly show you how or why I developed these. In all of my quilting, I do a lot of 1/4 inch echoing, and I don't like to have to jockey my circle around. So this inside curve and outside curve are actually 2 different curves. So what I'm going to show you is how I do that. So I'm just going to do some little scallops here. Move along. And we'll just do one more. Okay, so I've got my 3 little scallops, and if I wanted to do a perfect 1/4 inch echo, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just move away. Now, when I stitch along the bottom of my ruler, okay, so that stitch line there, that stitch line will match perfectly with the top of the ruler. So I'm just going to stitch back, stitch over. And what I do is, I don't know if you can see, I'm going to stop when my foot just touches the stitching there. I'm going to move my ruler. And I get that perfect 1/4 inch echoing that I absolutely love in all of my quilting. So one of the fun things that I could do as well, so you could create border designs, is, let me grab my straight ruler. If I pulled over my start locations, oops, to the other side, so I'm going to start there, and I did that same thing on this side. Okay, now I'm going to do that 1/4 inch echo, so I'm going to move out of the way so I can line up my ruler. I'm going to sit back. Get rid of that. So if this were, I probably should have done it here, however, then I could fill the center with straight line, kind of piano key type stuff. So there's a lot of things that you can do with the ProEchos. So I just want to recap the ProEchos again. They come in 15 different sizes. You can find them on my website, lisahkaye.com. And again, we did our curved cross hatching, we did our block designs, we did our continuous curves, we could do border designs. So really, these are the tools that I pick up on every quilt in various sizes. I try not to confuse myself, and I typically only use 3 to 5 on any one quilt. But again, these are the most versatile tools that you can own.